Alright guys, so today's video is going to be slightly different. I'm going to compare two products that probably shouldn't be compared, but I think it makes sense, and hear me out. I think if you're looking at a pair of IEMs, the market can be a little intimidating, and that's because there's so many different consumer level IEMs. But there's also professional IEMs as well. And I just kind of want to show the difference between the two, let alone the fact that the pricing is going to be different. But you can tell by the way that they're tuned and some of the things that you're getting and the way that the IEMs are just made, that there's a difference between one over the other. So I decided to compare the brand new Moondrop Aria 2s, which come in at $89, against the Westone Audio AM Pro X20s. Now these come in at $399, although on Amazon right now, you can actually pick them up for $339. But you can tell right off the bat, that is a huge pricing difference. And is it really just because one is aimed at professionals like musicians and people in the studio? Because then it becomes a tool more than it becomes just listening to music. So we're gonna talk about, again, a lot of the differences and see if it's worth that huge price gap. Now to start with, both are from reputable companies. Now Moondrop has kind of landed on the scene over the past couple of years, taken over the chi-fi market with a lot of their IEMs. Now they've kind of dipped their toes into headphones, but IEMs are still more what they're known for, where Westone has been around for a long time and they've been making professional equipment, professional IEMs, and if I'm not mistaken, I think they're one of the first companies to use multiple balanced armature drivers. Don't hold me to that, but again, I think they're one of the closer ones to the beginning of pioneering that type of technology. And that rolls over into these because the Westones are using dual balanced armature drivers, which are going to have a different aim compared to the Moondrop Aria 2s, which is using a single dynamic driver. So dynamic drivers are just handling everything usually, especially if it's just one single driver and not, paired with a balanced armature driver. So that dynamic driver is handling the lows, the mids, and the highs. But the dual balanced armature drivers in the Westones are going to be focused a little bit more on the mids and the treble than it is the bass. So they are going to have different sound signatures, which we'll talk about once we get to the sound. Now the build on these are also different. The Aria 2s feel a lot more robust. It has a lot more weight to them than the Westones do. And I don't know if that's because the Westones, again, are made to be used by musicians, people on stage, or people in the studio that's going to have them in their ears longer than somebody that's just going to casually listen to music maybe for an hour or two, compared to actually being in a studio for like 8 to possibly 10 hours, or on the stage during a concert for a couple of hours, where you're going to be moving around a lot more, and you're not going to want something that has as much weight. You're going to need that lightweight feel, and the Westones feel a lot lighter than the Aria 2s. And it's not to say that the Aria 2s just weigh a lot. It's just a typical weight on a consumer grade level IEM. It's just, again, made for casual listening. Now, one thing that's kind of interesting about both of these pairs is the Aria 2s have what they call a pressure vent. Now, this is usually allowing the bass to breathe a little bit more. It keeps things from sounding bloated or muddied like a lot of other IEMs, where the X20 has what they're calling passive ambience. Now, it's basically vents on the outside of the IEM, which is allowing some of your outside surroundings to kind of blend in with your music. It's kind of acting like an open back pair of headphones. And what that does is, if you're in a studio, or if you're on stage, you can hear your environment along with what you're listening to. And it allows you to be more aware. It allows you to be more, where you can have a conversation with people in the studio. And if you're on stage, you can hear the crowd or you can hear the people around you, but again, still be able to hear what you're listening to. So again, they both have vents, but they're both doing two completely different things. Now, as far as the accessories, the Aria 2 comes with a really nice leather hard case. It comes with 3 sets of silicone ear tips, and that's all as far as your ear tip selection. And then it comes with a really nice thick braided cable. Now, the cable is using the 2-pin connection, and it also uses a 3.5mm plug-in on the end, which is basically your standard headphone plug-in. And the X20 is coming with a hard case. It reminds me of like the Pelican hard cases that's made for camera gear. It comes with 5 silicone ear tips and also 5 foam ear tips. And so having that kind of selection right out of the box is definitely nice. And it's nice for people that don't always just like using silicone ear tips. And outside of that, it's coming with a very thin backed T2 cable. Now the cable itself is thin. It uses that T2 connection, which is more of just a single plug-in instead of the 2-pin connector. And this is made to withstand pulls. So if you're on stage and something kind of catches and pull it, it's less likely to pull out, but it's also less likely to damage the IEM. It's made to withstand things a little bit longer. And then the plug-in itself is also, again, that 3.5mm plug-in. So neither one of these come with a 1/4-inch adapter, which I find to be interesting because that is more something you would use in a professional environment. And it's definitely something a lot of the amps are using. So I found it interesting that neither one of these come with that 1/4-inch adapter. So now let's go ahead and jump into the sound. And this, in my opinion, is where the huge differences start to kind of creep up, because the Aria 2s have a more full sound. It has better dynamics. You can tell that it's going for that consumer grade sound, where these have actually been known for their mid-range, where vocalists are going to come out better, acoustic guitars and things like that. The Westones wipe the floor with them when it comes to the mids and the treble. The mids on the Westones are a lot more detailed. You can hear a lot more characteristics. The treble is brighter, and some people might find the treble to be a little too bright. I will say that it is, for the most part, if you're going to listen at louder volumes, the treble can hit a point of being slightly harsh, where I feel like the Aria 2s have a smoother feel to them. It feels a little bit more natural when it comes to the mid-range, and also with the treble, where I feel like the X20s are boosting the mids and the treble a little bit, again, making it where you can hear those details a little bit more. Now, when it comes to the bass, the Aria 2s have better bass response, or at least more bass. I won't say better bass response, because the Westones have a tighter bass. It's more accurate if you're going to compare them to the Aria 2s. And again, this is important if you're in a studio. You don't need that bloated bass. You need to hear it for what it is, and hear the tightness of it, and hear like how the speed of the drums can keep up, instead of hearing something that might be a little bit more bloated like the Aria 2s, where it can, at times get a little bit sloppy at times. Again, that's kind of nitpicking a little bit, but again, I'm comparing an $89 pair of IEMs to a pair that's retailing at $400. So it's not going to be as accurate as the Westones, but I don't think that's really what it's trying to do. I think it's trying to meet that consumer friendly level type of tuning, and for that, the Aria 2s do it perfectly. I think if you're a normal consumer and somehow the Westones just fall in your lap and those are the ones that you're testing, I think you're gonna feel like it's lacking something. It just doesn't have that really, thick punchiness that a lot of consumer grade level IEMs and earbuds and headphones are used to having. Now, when it comes to the Soundstage and the sound imaging, this one's not even close. The Westones do a much better job here. And this could probably fall back to the passive ambient mode that it has, or those vents that are allowing you to kind of hear more in your surroundings. Again, it just feels a lot more open than a pair like the Aria 2s, which are just completely closed in. Even though it still does a good job with the Soundstage and the sound imaging, it's just not even comparable to what the Westones are doing. But again, two completely different style of IEMs geared towards two completely different demographics. So my overall opinion and just my overall thoughts is know what you're looking for and what you're looking at. When you're looking at IEMs and earbuds and headphones, know what that product is geared towards. I mean, it could be where it excels at what it's supposed to do, but it may not be something that's geared towards what you're needing them for. So where I feel like the Westones have incredible sound, incredible details, being able to pick apart things a little bit more accurately than the Aria 2s, that's going to be good on a professional level. But the Aria 2s excel at a consumer level because it's more fun to listen to. If you're just wanting to listen to music, for fun or more of a casual use, definitely go with the Aria 2s. It's just not going to disappoint. And Moondrop proves again that they can make an incredible sounding earbud under $100. They generally don't get very pricey when it comes to Moondrop IEMs. And Westone again proves that they've made a really good tool when it comes to the production side of music, or the live music sound when you're on stage. It's again two different things for two different demographics. I just wanted to do this video to kind of show you the difference between these type of products. It's not really really trying to compare one product to the other, because in my opinion, they're just not really the same thing. But guys, that's my video on the brand new Moondrop Aria 2 and also on the Westone Audio AM Pro X20. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.